everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rugby with Pads. And I apologise, first of all. It's been a little while. I'm really sorry. You know, for context, it has been a while, but the season's been gone for a little while. It's been a little time since the Super Bowl and since you last heard from me. And I know I did a kind of bridging episode to kick off season 3, but this is proper kick off to season 3, and I'll make that a pre-season 3 because we are now officially in the pre-season. Tonight, I'm recording this on a Friday. We've got the Hall of Fame game, I believe. All the teams are back in camp. There's loads of chat, so why not get involved in all of that and ask a pretty interesting question about what's new, Pussycat. What is new? Well, as Tom Jones said, whoa. Oh man, that's cringe, isn't it? But anyway, this is what you come for: the cringe, the embarrassing guy talking to himself in a room to a podcast mic. But what have we got for you this year? Well, hopefully less interruptions than we've had over the past few months. I'm really hoping to get more involved when the season hits off. I know we previously last few years, a lot of preseason content. I think I actually started this podcast on the 1st of August, so this is kind of like almost a 2-year anniversary for me as well. So hopefully you guys appreciate what we've got coming up in the next few weeks. But what I wanted to do is a quick segment to kind of introduce you to what's the same, what will you expect out of Rugby with Pads over the next season, and what's different. And I've kind of tied them together. So first things first, this podcast was designed to make the game of fantasy football approachable, and hopefully we can continue to do that. I do want to make it approachable for beginners, but I realise that some of you who've been along the journey with me, there are some people who've been playing, from scratch for the last couple of years. Some people who are joining this year, but you still want to win a league. So let's go beyond the beginner. Let's go to the intermediate. Let's get a bit deeper into the depths, rather than 101s and 102s. We're gonna graduate. Well, not graduate. We're gonna go into the next year. We're gonna go into a 201s and just dive deeper on, I guess, less broad topics and a bit deeper into the minutiae of things. It's what it's what I love about fantasy football analysis, and hopefully I can get you guys thinking on that too. It came out this idea of kind of going another level below. We actually came out when I was speaking to long-time contributor. Well, he's been on a couple of times, and listener and avid fan, Dan, who's been on the pod a couple of times now. He was asking me about a trade he got offered, and it was in a dynasty league that he started up. He's become a fiend. He's joined abandoned dynasty leagues and all those kind of things. But I think he was offered Joe Burrow straight up for Lamar Jackson. He said, "Well, this feels like a good deal, doesn't it? Joe Burrow, a lot of hype around him. He is obviously the new look Slim Shady after his blonde hairdo. But I said, well, Lamar really hasn't done enough to win me a championship and what have you. Maybe I'm embellishing a little bit about the chat, but just kind of weighed up. It was like, Lamar doesn't score enough touchdowns. So is he going to be relevant in this league? And immediately I thought, well, maybe Joe Burrow's the name, but really, when you break it down, what does it actually look like? In most normal scoring leagues, you get 4 points for a passing touchdown. You get 6 points for a rushing touchdown. Okay, that's great. You also get 1 point for every 10 yards you go running. So what about points for first down? You don't generally get them for passing, but you do get them a lot for running. So all of those mean rushing quarterbacks are still elite. And I did the maths, and I worked out that with a low running yard season, 600 yards and maybe 4 touchdowns, Joe Burrow would have to score, no joke, 10 to 15 more touchdowns than Lamar Jackson does. And Lamar Jackson doesn't not throw the ball. So it made the decision easy for him. I said, Lamar Jackson, he's going to have less runway, but he's 27, 28 or something like that. He's going to be in his peak for the next couple of years, and then may change his game. Joe Burrow has already shown injury history. Joe Burrow, yes, you would think the archetype is going to go into his 35, but in Dynasty, it's not about winning when he's 35. It's about winning now. It's always about winning now, and that's the kind of analysis I want to take from going beyond the beginner into the intermediate. There is still going to be opportunities for beginners, though. I want to make the leagues even bigger. We've just relaunched and will be drafting soon what was the League of Collusionary Gentlemen. It's now the Hock Tua Tagovailoa League. or Invitational, sorry. Thanks to Jack for that new name. Now that's going to age really well. um, yeah, we're going to be doing more invites, bigger leagues, that kind of thing, and more opportunities to play the game, including dipping into best ball as well, which I think for beginners is really good because it gives you an opportunity to draft and see how your team goes. So we'll be doing that as well. We do want to do more team building. That's going to stay the same. We'll still do team building, but the way we'll do it is we're not going to focus on building my teams. No. We're going to be focusing on building your teams, and that's what I really want to go into. So every week I want to have a spotlight on a team that's in a league with me and give some advice. And luckily I'm in quite a few leagues. I get to give a lot of advice, and kind of build fancy rosters in the way I would, those trades, all that kind of stuff, because that is what you really need from in-season content. In-season content. You can see I'm a bit rusty from all this. I still wanted to continue doing the fancy storylines. The reason I love this was the ability to write storylines, and I'll show you some things in a minute. And still do my starts and sits, but I kind of want to combine them as well. And each week I want to pose the starts and sits by doing a head-to-head. Who would you start? It's a proper start sit. Let's use a real life example of a close match that's important to a league. Put some real context to it. Look at the history of the league. Look at what's going to happen. What do we think these people are going to do? I of course want to have guests, and that's up to you guys. If you guys want to come on, please feel free. There's plenty of ways to get involved, and that a lot of it that comes down to the stuff that I'm going to be doing on the side with the rugby with pads stuff as well. And I just kind of wanted to very briefly show you what I've got in store, because I started the Rugby with Pads brand and the buy me a coffee stuff simply to get more involved with you guys, because this is a free podcast. You can listen to it for free. If you want to become a member, that's great. If you become a member, you get some stuff. You get stickers, you can get tops and stuff like that. And I've got memberships going all the way across the board. If you can only afford £1, that's great. If you can afford more, that's even more fantastic. I've simplified the tiers. I'm having stretch goals. I'm having more content through this. You can find this all at buymeacoffee.com/rugbywithpads, or just go to rugbywithpads.com and you'll be redirected here. I'm going to be doing more content on this. So less frequent podcasts, maybe once a week on the podcast side of things, just doing the start sit and all that kind of stuff, and the stuff we need to talk about, and those spotlights. But the more kind of this side of things, who should you be wavering, all this kind of stuff, it will be driven all through this site. And I do have some goals. The ultimate goal for this is to make a better content for you guys and to make it sustainable. Currently it's not, but that's fine. But also, I thought it was fun to get out some branding, and what I've done as well is I've expanded the shop as well. So if you want to support and just get yourself something rather than just give as well, and with all memberships you do get hoodies, t-shirts, hats. I've expanded the store, more personalized stuff as well. So you've got my logos, but you'll see here I've got all the logos from our new fantasy league, the franchise league, and that's something I want to talk to you guys about. So outside of all the merch and membership, go to the places, go to the socials, follow all that kind of stuff. Really appreciate your support. But the leagues are really important, and I decided to start a league based on a bit of a conversation I had with a couple of my friends, saying, well, what's the concept of, what about defensive players? And I knew, but I hadn't really been involved with it. Well, I said, that's IDP. And I said, well, what if you had mixed the benefit of IDP, and doing that? And what we did is we spent a lot of time reshaping IDP rule sets to make it work. And then you have huge rosters. Okay, well, what if you had a huge roster? And what if you called it a franchise? And that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to try out different leagues and different league styles. And franchise mode was one of the really interesting starting points. So we started off with a bunch of guys. We've got 12 guys. Yeah, I'm counting right, 3x4. 12 guys involved. You see a lot of alliteration, where people are from, who wanted to really get into this. The rosters are huge. I think they're like 43-man rosters. But the idea is that we have a big set of guys who you're actually spending money on, not real money. We're talking fictional currency here, but we're talking about having I can't remember what it's called, salary caps and things like that. So we've gone through this already. We've done the startup draft. This almost came immediately after the Super Bowl. It was something that we were looking to do. Yeah, we've got a maximum at any time 53 players based on humongous rosters. You have to play at 18 each week. There's loads of bench slots, loads of taxi slots. But the idea is that you have of contract base value, and this goes to a salary cap, which is around the 300 mark. And every year you can franchise tag, trade people, renew their contracts. There's free agency that we're going to do as well, which is going to involve auction drafts next year. What we're trying to do is get the idea of the armchair GM into an even bigger context. I mean, you can see here on screen, if you're watching on YouTube, we've got life cycles for players to find out how they're going to be extended, etc., to make it fair so people can be claimed, contracts end, they end of free agency. It's like building the NFL. And ultimately, it's all down to we've got the standard rules, 3 strikes. I think this is way GM should build their leagues. By the way, I know it sounds really funny of me, but I think having a document that you can all read off and it is clear as day. And I come from the world where I write a lot of contracts. This isn't a contract, but this is an agreement between friends of how you're going to play with each other and make it fun. I realise saying that rules make it fun, but rules can make it organised and make sure you're working under the same framework. It makes it fair, and I think a fair competition makes it fun. We're all going into this not knowing what's good, what's bad, and to that end, I've used this in the off season to build out some storylines and what's good, what's bad. I've done a profile for each of the teams we've got. So starting from the top, we've got the Binfield Buccaneers. Matt, really like his team. I don't like his QBs, but we'll have to see how that goes. We've got Ed with the Dulwich Ducks. Lots of alliteration, as you can see. He also drafted a lot because he was here, there, and everywhere, and he did draft Aaron Donald. So you know what, and Kadarius Toney. So maybe there's some gaps in his portfolio there, but we'll see if he takes an underdog mentality there. We've got the Nebworth Snipes. That's Dan, who's stacked everywhere. He's got lots of hybrid players. I think he really looked into the detail of how players score in this league, especially with IDP, because that's the bit we don't know. Los Angeles Lions, John, JC will be returning again. I think he's really hoping that things fall for some second year players here. He's got some really interesting lineups. I really do like this a lot. And since this, we've had the rookie draft as well, which was equally chaotic. Manx Mongooses, that's Ben, that's my brother. First time in a dynasty league. He's done really well. I think he's got some really interesting players, and of course he has CMC, so he's going to be laughing there. The Rutland Rifles, we've got Harry. He took Eckler very early on, and I think that was maybe a misstep on his, but I think he recovered a little bit, and it's going to be interesting seeing how that league plays out. We've got the South Bakersfield Rebels, a new guy to the league. We'll see if he wants to be introduced, but Hanan, I hope you come on the podcast at some point. We haven't played with him before. Took a very different strategy. Took some older guys, but some real guys who I think could make an impact this year. And the Stortford Salamanders. We've got Sven's Stortford Salamanders. You'll notice everyone's got their own logo as well. All these are available on t-shirts. Again, rugbywithpads.com. And I'll also do commissions as well. So I found a way to plug in some AI, do some Canva stuff, and tart it up a little bit to make it nice. We'll do commissions as well. But all of this year is going to be more around leagues, and I want to find a kind of subtitle to go with it. I don't know, it's Chasing the Championship or something like that. But I want to focus on these leagues because the way I want to build this community is to get people more invested as soon as they hit fantasy football. And with that, I want to kind of open up the kimono a little bit and show you what I've been doing in the off season. And one of the big things that I did in the off season was I was part of the Scott Fish Bowl 14 live draft. Amazing. I wish I'd taken more photos, but you know what? I just got to speak to about 50 other guys. And it was mainly guys, to be fair. So some ladies as well there who were all just as interested in fantasy football as me, and I'd never done a live draft on a board before. Absolutely fascinating. And the Scott Fish Bowl, if you don't know about it, great cause run by Fancy Cares. They do a lot for charity. They make a lot of money for charity. I think there's over like 14,000 players. It's crazy. All for a good cause. And I was part of that this year. And they always do a really interesting scheme where it's for scoring as well. It's a bit more settled this year, but it's a super flex redraft league. I was drafting from the 4 slot. I got Jalen Hurts early doors, really happy with that. And I built around stacks. So you'll see here, I've got some interesting players. My lineup that I'm hoping to go all the way with here is very heavily driven through the wide receiver. I took 6 wide receivers in a row in this draft. It was crazy, but I ended up with a really good team. It's 1 QB, 1 RB, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, a load of flex positions, a super flex, and a kicker. And the kicker is an interesting one. It's actually used as a flex in some leagues, but now they've been on sleeper, you can't flex it. But I've got Jalen Hurts. I paired him with Devontae Smith, who I think is going to be a real key winner this year. We've got Kyron Williams, who I think is going to have another killer year. I've got his backup as well, and Blake Corum elsewhere. Deebo Samuel, yes, I watched receiver. Yes, I get it. I punted on tight end, and I got Isaiah Likely, and I've also got a bunch of other guys who I think could be contributors on spot weeks. Greg Dulcich, Tyler Conklin, and Hunt Henry. Well, that's definitely a position I punted on. But I've got Travis Etienne, Metcalf, Cooper, Ridley, and Levis for that stack as well. He's my QB2. I'm a fan in Superflex leagues of not letting the QB dominate it, because if I compare against my league mates, I've got some dominant wide receivers there, and I'm really happy with that. Yeah, some of them are a bit old, some of them a bit boom bust, I've been told as well, but I'm really happy with this. And Jake Moody, who's going to be paired with that Debo stack as well. So Scott Fishbowl is going to be one of the big leagues I'm in. It's a 12-man half PPR league, but with some crazy scoring rules as well. And of course, when you get to the meat of it, it's playing against 12,000 other people. So there are some crazy rules when it comes to the playoffs as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'll let you guys know how I'm going on with that one. We've done the franchise league as well, and I want to kind of talk to you through that a little bit. Franchise mode for me, I focused. Have a quick look at my team again. I can't remember who I focused on now, but I focus on some hybrid players. I'm the Stevenage Stags. I didn't even go through all the teams because there's even more there. But Stevenage Stags here, I've gone early on Anthony Richardson. I thought he was going to be really good, and I've got some late picks elsewhere. I've gone with some kind of middle round guys and focused on some boom bust guys. Unfortunately, Nick Chubb is in my lineup there, but I have got Breece Hall, who I think could be the running back one. But again, we'll get into that when we get into draft season there as well. So the franchise mode league will be someone I'll talk about quite a lot. We've also got the Warrington Wolves. I'll just finish off the set of everyone. Warrington Wolves, the Walthamstow Wolverine, 2 Wolvie based teams. You couldn't write it, could you? The Warfield Impalers, which I loved doing the design for this on, because it came up with some really weird stuff. Thank you, ChatGPT. And we've got a load of we're going to be doing this throughout the year as well, analyzing the teams, because I really want to find out in this format, what is the rule for success. What is the best kind of position group to own and do well at, to really make your team stand out as well. We will be continuing on with the Dynasty League, the one that I started a few years ago, which you can see even now is very active, with lots of to be fair, Dan is incredibly active, so we will be continuing on with that. He is trading more things than I ever know how he does it, really. I'm overspending on backup running backs because I have Nick Chubb as well, but I will be looking to take Lamar Jackson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devin O'Kane, Puka Nacua, Pittman, Moore, Kittle, Debo Samuel, Godwin, and Herbert. That's a really nice lineup. To the finals once again. With this league, it's brilliant because we draft early again. I've already done some draft breakdowns. You'll see here the full draft. So I started out as you would think in the rookie draft. We went Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Roman Dunze, Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, Drake May, JJ McCarthy. I came in and drafted up or traded up to get Lad McConkey. I really think he's going to be great. This is a PPR league, so I think he might be a late season winner. Plus, I need to make sure my investment in in Justin Herbert works, and finish off with Xavier Worthy. It's really interesting now seeing them coming to training camp, seeing these names come to life. I mean, I've heard this morning about Keon Coleman potentially not being the one in that lineup. I think we all kind of assumed he was, and it continuing to be the second year tight end Dalton Kincaid. over there. Likewise, I haven't heard anything from Troy Franklin, which disappoints me. But Xavier Worthy, we've already seen the 70-yard bomb. Yeah, I know it's a bit silly, but it was some amazing, kind of hype work done already. So we'll see how this all plays out. And yes, I was a bit down on Blake Corum in the second, but yeah, now I'm maybe less so. I think he might actually have quite a bit of a role this year based on some of the preseason hype that we're seeing already. But yeah, so we'll do this kind of stuff week in, week out, and analyze the moves across all these leagues. We'll kind of move through the leagues fluidly through the season. And of course, we're going to have our other redraft leagues as well. We've got our home league that we'll look at as well, which I will get into in a little bit. And the League of Collusionary Gentlemen has once again changed names. Jack won it last year and decided to call it the Hock Tour Tiger Valor. Absolutely butchered that. Invitational. It has now gone from 12 teams to 16 teams. Welcome to all of our new members. And the other day, I did the draft order. We've got new members, so it's not fair to do a standard reverse order draft. So instead, I look to change things up a little bit. And as we did last year, we did a NBA style lottery draft, and I'm going to pass you over to Sam from a week ago to take you through the results of that. Hello, folks, and welcome back to a non-standard setup that we've got here today. Regardless, we're going to make the best of what we've got. I wanted to get this out as soon as possible for the rest of my league, but you'll see here I'm doing a draft lottery. Now, a draft lottery is similar to the NBA way of deciding the first overall pick. Effectively, the worse you do, the more selections you get in the ball pit. They select them out. It's like the FA Cup draw meets the lottery, I guess. So what we have here is a couple of new players into the previously known as the League of Collusionary Gentlemen. We have the basically Hock Tour Invitational. The winner of last year gets to decide what it's called, and he's chosen a name that will definitely age well. But new players will get 10 picks, and then it goes down based on how well they did. You get 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, 2, and 1 for the previous champion. So the likelihood is that the previous champion will have the last overall pick, but it's leaving a little bit up to fate and allowing the new players to get in the mix as well, so they don't have too much of an advantage by getting the first overall draft. Last year I ended up quite low on the list. So we'll see how I do this year with being in the 4th spot as well. You'll also notice on the left-hand side of the screen, you've got North, East, South and West. And yes, they do apply to divisions. This year we have 16 players, and you cannot play 15 game weeks unless you really push back the postseason. And I like the postseason. I want to keep the postseason 3 weeks. So the decision has been made. Not everyone will play everyone. It's one of those things. But what I love to do is create rivalries. You've already seen it with my Dynasty League, doing East versus West, either UK versus the US folks as well, and having rivalries in there. The idea with this is you get to play your in-division teams twice, and then you will have a schedule based on where you draft. So the people who drafted at the top will play each other, while the people who are drafted at the bottom will play each other. And next year we can do performance-based and stuff like that. We're just trying things out, as we always do with this league. So without further ado, I'm going to call out all the names over the next 5 minutes, hopefully, and let's get them arranged, shall we, into their things. So let's go start and generate the order here. Now, we're not going to do the NBA music. I'm just going to do it one at a time, and we're going to unveil them slowly. So we're going to go pick one. Is it going to be one of you guys? It's not going to be one of my new guys. It's going to be Matt. And Matt is going to be, if we look at the Wheel of Fortune here, he is going to be put into the West Division. So he is going to be our first player put into the West Division. Pick 2 at the 102, already waiting. I think he got the 102 last year. He didn't do great with it because he auto-drafted a lot of it. It is Ollie, and Ollie will be put into the Northern Division. Pick 3, we'll have to see who it's going to be, but they'll be going into the West Division, and it is one of our new players, Jack. Jack R. Well done, Jack. You are going to be the lead off on the. Oh no, not going to be lead off. You're going to be joining Matt in the Western Conference. Next, we have at the 104. We have an old favourite, Harry. He is going to be the first person at the East. Our second of of three brothers and a father as well in the mix as well. But Harry, you're going to be the lead off in the East. At pick 5, we're going to have Mike, another set of brothers. He is going to be joining Ollie in the North. Then, so I'm having to do this very quickly with over 2 screens. Then we have my brother, Ben. He's going to lead off in the South. I really hope I get in the South now. But you'll notice now that we've got quite a mix of people here. We've got some people who have had a lot of draft balls who we expect to see next. I'm hoping I get in the top 10. You never know, but we'll have to see how that goes. But all this is to make sure we can start preparing. At pick 107, we do get me. Brilliant. I get to go for 107. I don't get to join my brother, but I get to join Harry in the East. Next off, we've got the 108. We're getting to the halfway point here, and we have Dan, who many of you will have heard on the podcast before. He is joining one of his brothers and and one of his best friends, Matt, in the Northern Division. Good luck there. That's going to be a spicy division already. At the 109, we have old favourite John, JC. He is going to be joining Dan in the North to complete that out. So the North is the first division completed. Ollie, Matt, Dan, and JC. Okay, not many left here. I'm really worried I haven't got enough divisions here. Next pick in the East is going to be a relative newcomer, but he did fantastically last year. We have Sven joining us, pick 110 there. He's actually going to be joining me, so that'll be a nice little spicy rivalry. I think he beat me once last year, so I'll see how it goes. Andy is at the 111. He is joining the South with Ben. We don't have many divisions left. I think we haven't got any more completed divisions yet, but we'll have to see what comes up next. At the 112 spot, going into the West, we have finally a new, hopefully favourite to the pod here. We've got Sergio. He's going to be joining Jack, another newbie in the West. The West is going to be a bit of a newbie conference as well. I think there was another one as well, and we have Matt, who is an old established one there. So is this going to decide who's going to be the last one in the West? No, it's going to decide who's the last one in the East, though, and it is going to be James. There we go. So in the East, we have Harry, myself. No, we don't. Harry, me, Sven, and James. I think that's going to be a pretty competitive division, but I'm hoping I can come out on top here. Next, we have completing the West. We have Ed coming into the West. So the West is now Matt, Ed, Sergio, and Jack R. So 2 newbies and 2 guys who've done it for a little bit. So we'll have to see how that goes. And obviously, it is now a bit of a we know it's going to be South, and at the 115, it's going to be Boz, and rounding off the South, just for completeness, I'm still going to press the wheel, and drumroll please, you probably don't know who it is if you haven't introduced it beforehand, but at the 116, we have our reigning champion, Jack, as well, so he is going to be finishing off the South, so that South division looks like Ben, Andy, Boz, and Jack. And welcome back. After some technical difficulties, we're just going to get straight into it. I was going to, give you a big long diatribe into how we're going to focus a lot this year on mock drafts, but you know what it is. You've heard it all, and you've just heard the draft order. So we're going to go in straight away and draft in this league as well. So we start off with the 7 slot. That's where we are. I encourage you all, if you're not doing also already, it's just fun to do drafts. So just go and do them. Even though it's very early, still there's a lot to hear from training camp. I am going to try and do a draft for you. And you know what? I'm already stuck with my first decision. So I'm taking them from a 7 slot in a 16 team. I do believe there is a third round reversal as well. And it starts off with CMC, Tyreek Hill, ARSB, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, Jamar Chase. Who am I going to go for? Do I go for one of these top guys now? This is a wide receiver favorable draft. We only have one guy at each position, so I'm just wondering whether I go, hero running back, hero wide receiver. We've got lots of flex spots. It's 4 flex spots across wide receiver, tight end, and running back. Only one of each of those you have to do. So it's just best player available. And I already talked it up. I think he's going to be so consistent this year. And I think in round 1, you still need consistency. I think Brees Hall is going to be the RB2 this year, even if maybe the RB1 if Christian McCaffrey has a couple of dud games as well. So I'm going to go with him. Straight after that, Bijan Robinson, Puka Nakua, Jay Taylor, JT, and you still need to remember all their names. Jonathan Taylor, that's it. AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Kyron Williams in the first round, which is crazy. Think about last year. Jameer Gibbs, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit because I can't even see everyone there. He's in the kind of tail end of the draft there. And of course, we've got Josh Allen towards the end there as well. Okay, who's going to come next from me? Josh Allen comes back on the other way. I'm looking at another running back potentially, or do I want that first wide receiver? It's really difficult. You've got Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. I've not done a draft yet, so this is crazy. Me going straight into this, but I think the one guy who I'm thinking is probably going to be the wide receiver 1 in his team, and it's a really good team, and I want a piece of it. It is, of course, Deebo Samuels, and yeah, I've gone for 2 fairly obvious picks to start with, but we'll see how that plays out for me, and I can see the rest of the screen, which is a lot nicer now. After Deebo Samuel, Derrick Henry, Stephon Diggs is the first of the Houston wide receivers to go. I would go with the cheapest one, no matter what you're going through. Towards the tail end, we've got A.K.A. and Pacheco, and you can see already in a 16-team league, it goes fast. In the third round starts off with Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, and we start getting more wide receivers, more quarterbacks going off as well. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes, and it lands with me. Unfortunately, the guy I wanted to come back to, who I think is a cheap version of AJ Brown that you can get later, is Devontae Smith, but I don't need this to just look like the Scott Fish Bowl, so let's do something different. And you know what? It's a 1 of each league. I think this is someone who could be the number 1 in his position, and I don't think he's undervalued. I think he is properly valued. I think it's Trey McBride, and I'm really sad I gave him up in Dynasty a couple of years ago for pittance when he didn't do as what I wanted to in his first 2 years. But we'll see how that goes. Cup goes next. CJ Stroud, who I think is massively overvalued just off the top. We end the third round with Kamara on the turn with Walker. That first team has a lot of running backs, so you can see all the running backs are going down quickly. We're in running back dead zone. The next guy up is Aaron Jones. So I'm glad I got my guy early. And we're left with a difficult decision here, but I think the decision is just landing to me, and it's a guy I really favour, and this is probably going to be one of my guys this year. He was already last year. Unfortunately, he came to injury. Anthony Richardson get on the team. So we're starting off strong with Brees Hall, Deebo Samuel, Trey McBride, and Anthony Richardson. We've got all of our needed positions sorted already in the draft. Amari Cooper goes next. T. Higgins a little bit later. That's early. That's what I think. Joe Burrow goes shortly after him. We get a bit of a run on tight end, so I'm glad I went Trey McBride when I did. Travis Kelce obviously went in the first. Mark Andrews went shortly after. Kincaid, Pitts, Engram, Kittle, Bowers. We're already getting into kind of tight end 8 position here. And now I'm looking to fill out as many players in my flex positions that I can. And I go into flex with high opportunity upside. It is the main key. So which one of these guys is proven to be the number 1 in their team? And then you look at positional scarcity as the next kind of decision maker. Now, I'm weighing up between Chris Godwin. Is he going to be the number 1 guy? Probably not. I think that's Evans. Calvin Ridley. Is he going to be the number 1 guy? Probably is. Is he going to be the number 1 read on his team? Probably not, because I think they're going to be still heavily running, and you're still relying on a quarterback who is raw. So I'm going to go with a guy who I do think will be more. How am I going to go with him? Or do I go Terry McLaurin, who is with a new quarterback? He is a contested catch guy. You know what? I'm going to risk it for a little bit, and I'm going to go late for my second running back, and I'm going to pick with ADP. I'm going to go Terry McLaurin because I just like him. He's a great player. I think he deserves more, and hopefully Jaden Daniels isn't just a rushing upside guy. He can throw a ball, and we know he can. We've seen it. Heisman talk was there for a good reason. I can't remember if he won it or not. Probably not. I think Caleb Williams might have done it. Anyway, Prescott, Kyler Murray, go Xavier Worthy at the end of the fifth. That's high. Hollywood Brown goes straight after him. So two. This is not a real draft because you would not draft two wide receivers from the same team. They've got Worthy and Hollywood Brown. Mostert has been elevated so much he could still be in the third, fourth round if I was to bet. But in a 16-team league, he's coming in the sixth. He was a position I was looking at. Tony Pollard went, Zamir White went, so Tony Pollard's off my list. Was picking up some Nick Chubb a little while back, but again, I'm looking at the opportunity of someone to be a number one option in their team. Now, I spoke about I'll be looking at Keon Coleman here, speaking about him potentially running with the ones there, but I think he's going to be the X. Number two, I think it's going to be more slot play, more 12 personnel, which means two tight ends on the field, which means less wide receivers, but more opportunity for those big plays. Have to see. Laban Conkey, I still think he's raw, and bearing in mind I'm looking at my fifth skill position, Lab McConkey is not the one that I would want to rely on here. So I'm going to go with someone who I think showed a breakout last year, and I think I think it is his. I think the job is his. Oh no, I'm torn up now. I was going to talk about the benefits of Zach Moss here, but I've just seen Deontay Johnson just shining at me here, and this is PPR, so I'm going to go Deontay Johnson. He's by far and away the most talented wide receiver on that lineup. It's a bad lineup. I hate taking the Panthers, but you know what? Sometimes this is a mock. This is what happens. We've got to work out what happens if I go hero RB and wait on everyone else. What falls to me? Shortly after, Devin Singletary goes. Zach Moss goes at the start of the seventh. That's interesting. So we're in the middle. Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy. Everyone's getting their quarterbacks. We're done with quarterback. I'm not getting a second quarterback. That's it. I will surf the waiver wire. Yes, I have a fragile guy, but I still think he can do that, and that's something I'd recommend for you, guys. Now, here is where we're looking at value. What if I told you that Brian Robinson, yes, Brian Robinson, the other B Robinson, last year, and it doesn't really show it here. I think in the first 11 games, he was the wide receiver, running back 4 or something like that. Yeah, here I know it's heavily against Denver, where he had 4 touchdowns or something silly like that. Scored 28 points, but he is a spike value, and he is going to be fighting off an aging Eckler. Yes, I love Eckler. Although it was funny, if you haven't seen it yet, there's a documentary called something about M7 or something like that on Netflix. Austin Eckler is married now to an ex-cultist, which is interesting. Dance cult, that is. Gus Edwards is the Gus bus. Is he going to be the number one guy there? Probably. I don't know, but I'm liking the idea of Brian Robinson being able to win that battle. But I'm also liking Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz, I think, is the value pick out of all those. And I do want to come away with at least one more running back, at least one more tight end. And if I can come as tight end too, I think Dalton Schultz has that value as well. I was thinking about Trey Benson as well. Could he beat out James Conner? He could do, but he's not likely to. Whereas the other guys, I think, are going to get reps. But I'm going to go with my favorite wide receiver in Houston, Dalton Schultz. I think he is. He's so incredibly close with CJ Stroud. He had such a great season last year. Yeah, but that's me done on tight end now. So I'm only focusing on wide receiver and running backs, unless something were to fall to me. As a second QB, we've just seen Jaden Daniels go. That's a really good look. I really like that. I think he could be a league winner for someone. Team 6 picked up Justin Herbert as their first quarterback. I'm getting my positions mixed up, guys. Go easy on me. But that leaves me with an interesting one here. I'm staring down Zeke, and I'm not thinking it's a bad idea. Is that weird? I think Zeke, they obviously like him to some degree. Yes, they didn't pay him. They didn't like him as much to pay him that much. But let's look beyond the ADP here and see if we've got any good value here. I think here, because if I'm kind of rounding out my first team, I'm not, these are guys who I need to be a bit more solid. He's a starter. Curtis Samuel potentially is the number one, but have we seen any consistency from him in the last few years? I don't see a whole lot of green in his lineup here. And yes, although he's used all over the field, is he making those impactful plays? Yes, he's getting paid. We say follow the money, but no one's paying running backs. So do I follow Zeke Elliott and hope that he can punch in a few touchdowns for me? You know what? He could go on a little run, and that's what I'm hoping for. So I'm going to go Zeke in the 8th round. So just to recap, Breece Hall, Debo, Trey McBride, Anthony Richardson, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson. That's a really lovely wide receiver core. Lots of veterans there, though. Not a good dynasty lineup. Dalton Schultz and Zeke Elliott to round off my flex positions. Only a few more rounds because we've got 5 positions here in the bench. Obviously, I would say to everyone, still wait on your kicker, wait on your defense. It doesn't matter. It's unless you've gone for some crazy scoring. But we are staring down some of the same guys. We've got Mike Williams, who's on the pup. I'm going to ignore him straight away. Raheed Shaheed is low key, a really valuable player. Got given a $5 million extension. Josh Palmer, could he be the one? He's never been the one before. And we're looking at guys who are just like, ugh, a bit icky, really, here. The guys I'm kind of weighing up here, if I hadn't have said I was already done with tight end, I'd be looking at Cade Otton potentially. I think he's a really good value pick. Not looking at Antonio Gibson because I don't think the money's there. Jahan Dotson has always felt like a good number 2, but I don't want to bet on the injury and go Tyler Algier. If Tyler Algier comes back to me next time, I'll probably go get him because this is where I'm filling out my bench a little bit more. But I'm going to be looking towards J.K. Dobbins. Has so much promise, but this year I know he's only guaranteed 50 million. No, not 50 million. 50,000 is guaranteed. They could cut him so quickly, and there's too many people on that lineup. I'm steering clear of J.K. Dobbins, so I'm going to have to go with my old dynasty and best ball favorite. Maybe he won't be a best ball favorite anymore, but Gabe Davis, he could break out and be the one now that Calvin Ridley's not there. We don't know. At the very least, it'll be fun to watch. Just after that, we get Kirk Cousins go. Mike Williams, the computer doesn't care that he's on pup and perpetually injured. I've got him in my dynasty league. I'm annoyed. And who does come back to me? Tyler Algier does come back to me, and I don't have enough running backs. I think he's going to get some play, even though it's a new offensive scheme. He's going to get some play. I'm going to have to do it. Yeah, Tyler Algier is one of the top tier running back backups, and he could get snatched up by someone else. I don't think he will. I think the Falcons are doing something, especially with picking up Michael Penix Jr. I don't know what they did there, but they're doing a lot of things. The computer has decided now is the time to start picking kickers. I would disagree with that. I'm going to continue on picking up guys that I think is going to be useful. And someone right. This is a really, really good chunk of players here that's just showing up on my screen. Quentin Johnson, Taysom Hill. I think they are 2 names that are massively, massively underrated. Taysom Hill is going to get some play at tight end. Juwan Johnson's got injury. He's going to be lining up in the backfield, doing some weird stuff, as he always does. They've got largely the same coaching setup. So have to see what happens there. I really like Quentin Johnson as a breakout this year. He was so talented, and yes, there's a lot of camp hype, but I can't. I love camp hype, and this is my camp hype pick. I'm going with Quentin Johnson in the 13th round, the 11th round. I'm not quite done yet. We've got 15 rounds in total, so we'll get you gone soon. We're now picking up backups. We're picking up Davis, Mooney, Wilson. Wilson would have been my other pick. He's a bit like Matt Ladd McConkey, but less productive. Do I want to go back and get a running back? No, I think the quarterback, the guys who are going to be left here are going to be like Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Bo Nix. Yeah, I can pick one of those off the street. I'd rather give myself an opportunity on protecting myself a little bit here. And at this pick, am I going to have to pick a handcuff? I think I am. I picked someone else's handcuff, which I think is always a good opportunity. So whoever's got Bijan Robinson in team number 8, I'm coming for you, mate, because I've got his handcuff there. But I'm looking down the barrel of Elijah Mitchell. If he is the number 1 backup running back, straight up, if you get the opportunity to take him this late in a draft, then it doesn't matter. That's great. I could have taken Braylon Allen. I don't know whether he'll be the handcuff to my guy, but I like taking other people's handcuffs because you're not betting on your own injury history. You're betting on others as well, which I guess is equally unsavory, but we'll have to see. We're going to look at only the flex positions. I'm going to filter it. So, and this is our last one. We're going to throw a bit of a punt at. And the guys who interest me, Devontae Walker, simply because Lamar hasn't yet decided who his guy is. Yeah, I think Zay Flowers maybe could have been his guy if he'd been more productive last year. I think the door is still open there. There's no one here that's really exciting here. I mean, who's excited to draft DJ Chark? I don't think anyone is. AJ Dillon, I traded for him last year for no good reason. Don't know why I did that. Jalen Tolbert's an interesting one because the wide receiver room is thin out there. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I can't do it. I can't ever draft him. Marcus Robinson, could he have a couple of games? Yes, but I'm going to go for youth, and I'm going to go for Javon Baker here. That wide receiver room is not good. Straight up in in Patriots land, but he's battling against Mario Douglas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton, all guys who have not made an impact. KJ Osborne. So you know what? Every opportunity is open for him. It's going to be Drake May's offense eventually. Let's go for Javon Baker, and let's just see who falls to us in defense and kicker. Everyone's gone for kicker first, so I'll pivot and go for defense first. If it hadn't been already, the 13th round, that your second to penultimate round is where I might say look for a defense or a kicker just to get ahead of the curve potentially, and then have a free draft on the last one. But I'll go for the 49ers in the 14th spot, and we'll suddenly see all of them go here. Who's left on the bench for me for quarterback? We've got Bo Nix, Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Darnold, Minshew. Yeah, we've got some starters there who potentially we could pick up off the waiver wire should we need to. Our kicker is going to be none other than insert name here because I don't know who's actually a starter yet. I haven't gone through my list and worked out who's good or not. So I'm just going to pick a random name. Is it a random name with a team? I can't see. Maybe the thing isn't good enough here. You know what? I like the name. Spencer Schrader, and he links up nicely with my Anthony Richardson pick. So if he makes a team, all great. So that's my first ever mock draft this year. We start off with Breece Hall, going to Deebo Samuel. We get Trey McBride, Anthony Richardson for a steal in the 407 slot. We get Terry McLaurin, 5'10", Deontay Johnson, Dalton Schultz, Zeke Elliott, and this is where it starts going to pot when it comes to a 16-man league. This is really growing. This is going to be interesting. If it was any bigger, we would have split into two conferences and had two different leagues. But Gabe Davis, I think, could be really interesting. Tyler Algier, I'm just coveting other people's handcuffs here. Quentin Johnson, Elijah Mitchell, Javon Baker, and finishing off with the 49ers and Spencer Schrader, who I don't know is any good. I don't know if he's going to make the team. We'll just have to see, won't we? And that's your lot, guys. Thank you very much for listening to probably what is a manic episode because I'm not quite into the rhythm of doing things yet. But we've talked about what's new, what's going on, what's new, Pussycat, and what's the same. And you can still expect a lot of the same content. I'm not going to lie, but I want to try and evolve things each year. I don't want to get stagnant. This is fun for me, and I want to keep it fun. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy the journey with me as well, and me doing new things. But expect over the next few weeks some draft 201s. Yeah, we're going to do that. My kind of leagues and rankings and things like that. I'm going to open up the kimono to some tools that I use as well that I've been trying out this year. And, as always, I'm just going to flash it up on the screen if I've got it still one last time. But you can support the pod in all the usual ways. You can follow us on YouTube, subscribe on all of your what they call services, what are they called? Socials, all that fun stuff, all your podcast services. We're on Spotify, Apple Pod, Google Pod no more, rest in peace, although I think I only got about 3 listeners on that ever. So, and you can support the pod by going to rugbywithpads.com, getting a membership from as little as £1. That opens you up to exclusive content and discounts in the shop. I didn't mention that. For any members, there are discounts, so you can get cheaper shirts. If you don't like any of the designs, let me know. I will do commissions. For now, you know what? If anyone asks, I will do commissions for free for the next 3 months as well. But if you sign up now as well, I'm still doing a bit of a promotion that was hanging over from last year. The first 10 members, they'll be entered into a competition for more free stuff as well. With your membership, you get shop credits, so you can go spend stuff. So I'm going to be sending out some notifications to current members to spend their shop credit with us. I will be doing a new merch drop soon, and I will model some stuff. Not that you're going to see me on a TikTok or a Instagram reel anytime soon, but with that being said, thank you so much for listening this far, for watching if you're on YouTube, for just dialing in and being part of this. I really do appreciate it. Apologies it's been so long. Hopefully it's going to be good. And I needed to rest up from work and all this kind of stuff. It's hard having two kids, as well. So just putting that in there. Um, if you are going to any of the NFL London games, the tickets are already out. Let me know. I'd love to come meet you there and do some stuff there. But as always, thank you so much for listening. Support the cast at Rugby with Pads on all the socials, and I will see you very soon on the virtual gridiron.